when you read Nancy Ambrose, you hear her story through Howard Thurman, you do get it, right? You're like, I totally understand why she would dismiss Paul. And the thing about that is that along with her story, you have all these other stories too, which I think kind of point to the complex nature of what I call African American Pauline hermeneutics, where you have people like Nancy Ambrose who, reject Paul. And I talk about two of those people in my book, Howard Thurman, of course, and then Albert Clegg. But then for the most part, you have African Americans who reject that Paul that they've been given by white interpreters. They reject that Paul and they say, that is not the Paul that we know. That is not the Paul that proclaims the gospel to the Gentiles. And so in a sense, I talk about African American Pauline hermeneutics as this reclamation hermeneutic. Like they are reclaiming Paul and, allowing his voice to help them shape their own voice in protesting slavery and injustice and oppression. So, and then would also say, like in coupling with that, they also have these profound experiences with God themselves, which I think is an important part of how they come to interpret Paul. They have these, like many of these interpreters have these extraordinary conversion experiences. They have these extraordinary supernatural encounters with God. And in that sense, they believe they experience the same God that Paul experienced on the Damascus Road.
Wow.
And so, and these experiences help shape how they see Paul. And so I think when you think about these interpreters, I talk about in the book this dialectic, right? They're bringing their experiences to the text, but they're also allowing the text to interpret their experiences. So not just their supernatural experiences, but also the experiences of enslavement and the things they're experiencing in larger society, racism. And those experiences, along with these powerful encounters with God, really help shape how they see Paul and how they interpret his letters.
It's beautiful, it's bold, it's radical, and it reminds me of like the early reformers, like the Luthers, that rejected certain interpretations as no, that's not how we read this text. Luther was very bold and very radical. Like, let's even get rid of the book of James, Luther said. But like, I think I see the same thing here. Like, you have these African Americans who were slaves now reading this text and rejecting what they're being told by even the pastoral community and saying that's not how we see this. And that's a very radical idea. I mean, they're like very radical theologians to like go against the church in America that was preaching this. I love that.
Yeah, they were radical. You're right. They were radical. They were bold. They were fearless. They were tenacious. All of those adjectives, right? And especially when you think about the times in which they lived.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out this video clip from the Delgado podcast. To get more videos like this, simply subscribe here on YouTube. You can also download the full episode of each show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or your favorite podcast player. Take care.